3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Hello guys, what is up and welcome back to the Sports Shift with me, Ian Marquez. So after the final Champions League game for a little bit, the Premier League is back. More interesting matchups and scenarios upon us. Let's look into it. Quick look through other fixtures before we make our predictions. Nottingham Forest at home to Brighton. Bournemouth host league leaders Liverpool. Relegation battle between Everton and Leicester. Similarly, Ipswich welcome Southampton to Portsmouth Road. Newcastle take on Fulham. Wolves welcome Aston Villa. Action-packed game set up between Brentford and Spurs. Man United host Crystal Palace. Huge game between Arsenal and City, and to round it all off, Chelsea host West Ham. There'll also be a makeup game for the game that was postponed. That is Liverpool travelling to Everton, the Merseyside derby. But that game we play next week, so it's not coming immediately, so we won't already spend too much time on it. So here you have it. These are my Premier League predictions. Nottingham Forest Champions League fight. They've been very consistent, not pretty football, but they get the job done. Score goals when it matters, very solid defensively. And Brighton have been a little inconsistent outside of the game at Old Trafford. I'm not very convinced. Their play style, I know they typically play exciting football, but they've been conceding goals at the back. They've not been creating as much as they typically do. So while I do think the Forest will start to have a dip in form, I don't think that starts yet. I think Forest edge it in a low scoring game. Next game, my only draw of the week, Bournemouth at home to Liverpool. Cannot take Bournemouth lightly. They have been beating some amazing teams at home and also some unamazing teams like Man United. But Arsenal, City, they have been very good form at home. They score a lot of goals, even though they're not very clinical. And I just think it's going to be a high scoring game. They don't have a striker, but with Tara, Semenyo, Kluivert have all been chipping in. And by committee, they're getting the job done. So they'll play some attractive football. They won't be scared against Liverpool and look for a high scoring draw. Whether Liverpool score a late goal to win it, it's always possible with Liverpool, but no team has scored more late goals than Bournemouth, so I guess we'll see. Give me a 2-all draw. Some very important games at the other side of the table. Everton at home to Leicester. Leicester off the back of a very impressive comeback win versus Spurs, a 2-1 win, and I think it's a bit of a letdown spot. David Moyes trying to figure out his best side at Everton, so I'm going to go with Everton, a low scoring game. I think Everton just edge it just because it's a bit of a letdown spot. Leicester coming off the high of that huge win at Spurs, and I think Everton just edge it. Continuing on at the bottom of the table, Ipswich, Southampton, each team fight till they need 3 points. It's starting to look very bleak for Southampton. I don't think they will be able to come back. And Ipswich are slowly but surely following that trend. So Ipswich will definitely be in need of 3 points. I think they should be able to get them. They've been scoring a lot of goals. Southampton create literally nothing. And although Ipswich haven't been the best defensively, they do play an attractive style of football. Maybe lacking a little bit of quality, but they've had some additions into the January window, which I think coming to the end of the season might prove pivotal. Like some Jacob Philogene and Ciso, a little bit of quality that might prove the difference to save them and keep them in the Premier League next season. So I think Ipswich edge this one against Southampton and keep the fight for safety alive. Newcastle versus Fulham. Newcastle continue to get the results, grind out results, whether pretty or not. Isaac still in fine form. Midfield, one of the best midfields in the Premier League, likes of Joe Linton, Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes. I think Newcastle just have too much quality for Fulham. Fulham do play tough. They are pretty difficult to break down, but they don't really score too many goals. They aren't very creative. It usually takes like some individual brilliance. I think Newcastle just have too much quality. So give me Newcastle, give me Isaac to score. I think it's a pretty comfortable 3-1 win. Aston Villa versus Wolves. Aston Villa are on a terrific Champions League run. They've qualified automatically for the round of 16. Although after every Champions League game, they've had a little wavering game in the Premier League. I think they just have too much quality for Wolves. It's going to be very interesting to see what they do in the last days of the transfer window, because John Duran He's going to Saudi Arabia. He's going to play next to Cristiano Ronaldo. They already lost Jacob Fedegin, and maybe they get a striker last minute. Otherwise, everything lies with Ollie Watkins. He has been finding a bit of form, but Duran was a really good 1-2 punch off the bench. So that's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. Although this game specifically, I think they have too much quality for Wolves. There have also been many rumors about Cunha leaving. I don't think that will happen, but it might be playing in his mind. He might not be back on his game. And Wolves just have been lacking. Sack the coach. I worked for a game or two, but the quality is just not there. And usually they rely on individual brilliance from the likes of Cunha to create any sort of chances. Probably my favorite game of the weekend, Brentford versus Spurs. This London derby is going to be amazing. I expect it to be high scoring. Both teams play very attractive, aggressive football. Both teams concede goals every game. Give me both teams to score for sure. And I do think Brentford edge it just because they will make less simple mistakes. They will create a lot of chances through Mbeumo and Wissa. And I think they'll be a little bit more solid defensively. So giving Brentford a score. Spurs will need to create individual brilliance, but they're very banged up. Huge injury list. And it's not looking good for Ange. I think he might have 1 or 2 more games and he might be out. Rumors do have it though that Spurs are looking to sign Matthias Tel from Bayern. And if they do, I think he'll be very exciting in the Premier League, and I think he will fit into the Spurs system. A lot of creativity, a lot of pace, very good in transition. So I'm very excited to see him play wherever he ends up. Man United versus Crystal Palace. A comfortable win in midweek in Europa League. And I don't know what to expect from Man United. They'll be solid defensively, but individual errors usually allow Premier League teams to score. If you give any Premier League team a chance, they'll take advantage of it. There was a little bit of a shift in the system with Mainu playing as a 10, which I've been asking for weeks, instead of playing that deeper role where he has to focus too much defensively, similarly to how they treated Pogba. Put Mainu as a 10, give him the freedom to play, be a little more aggressive with his passing, with his touches, and I think he'll flourish. Bruno will be a little bit deeper, but will be running to assist him. I really like that 1-2 punch of Bruno and Mainu as a 10s, with Garnacho and Ahmad coming down the wings. I think that's a great setup. Hopefully Ruben sees the same things I do. But if that keeps on happening, I think United will play a lot better. I think our strikers, whether Xerxes or Holding, will get more chances. And I'm interested to see that. That's why initially I was going for a draw. When I saw that Amorim finally put Mainu as a 10, and the way that they were playing, I got a little confident. Might this be biased? Probably. But I'm going with United to win. You can tell me, am I wrong? Am I losing my mind? I wouldn't be surprised if they don't win. I expect a low scoring game because they just don't really create chances. But I think in a 2-1, maybe a 1-1 draw. Very big game from the title challengers. I say that, are they really challengers? Can they catch Liverpool? Well, if they want a chance to catch Liverpool, they're going to need 3 points here for either team. Man City travel to London to play Arsenal. Very huge game. Both teams made it through to the next round of the Champions League, so that job is done. Arsenal do have a deficit to overcome in the Carabao semi-final in midweek, and I think that they will be playing their strongest squad. I know they're a little banged up as well. There was no Odegaard last week. Will he be back? I'm not sure. There's not that they're going to be doing any transfer business, so no striker coming. They were trying to get Ollie Watkins with a late bid, but as far as I know, Aston Villa have not accepted anything. So do they make a late push for Ollie Watkins, or are they happy with the squad they have? I guess we'll find out. For this game, I just think Man City have that edge over them. Arsenal are going to sit back, look to play on the counter, and Man City are slowly starting to find a bit of form. Yes, they struggle defensively. Yes, they're very open on the counter, but they do have the quality going forward. Foden's starting to find his shooting boots. Alan is back in the goals, and Marmoush has been a great addition. I think he's going to run havoc against Arsenal. I think City just edge it. I do think both teams score, but give me a 2-1. Now for the last game of the week, Chelsea at home to West Ham. Chelsea with a pretty subpar performance. It was very disappointing against City last week. Looking to get back to winning ways against another London rival. And I think they do it. Palmer, as usual, goes pretty quiet in big games. I expect him to be back in the goals. Jackson had a few chances. but he's just not clinical. He needs very many chances to score. I think he finds the net in this game as well. I expect a high scoring game and a pretty dominant display from Chelsea. So I'm thinking maybe a 4-0. So those are my predictions. Tell me what you guys think. Am I wrong? I guess we'll come back next week and find out how well I did. Here you guys have the predicted goals and clean sheet odds for each matchup. I think there'll be a lot of goals in most of the games. It's the Premier League, what can I say? But in terms of the most goals, well, we have Newcastle, Liverpool, Brentford and Chelsea all expected to score at least 2 goals. If you're looking to make a bet, look for goal scorers from those teams. We also have, on the other side of it, teams with a low chance of a clean sheet, the likes of West Ham, Fulham, Leicester, Southampton, Wolves, Palace, your typical suspects, all expected to concede at least 1. I think it's pretty safe to say if you're looking for a goal scorer, look for those teams. And if you match up clean sheet odds and chances of scoring, I think it's pretty simple to find a goal scorer. Based on those odds and percentages, I'll make my picks of who I think has a chance of scoring. Isak has just been in fine form over fixtures. Fulham can be a tough side, but Newcastle creates so much. They're such a strong side to put that play together. As a result, I'm going with Isak to get the job done once more. On the other side, Wissa is playing against a struggling Spurs team. Might be losing a manager in the next few weeks. Brentford creates so many chances, especially at home. So I definitely think there'll be goals. And who better to pick than the striker to score them? Haaland is a bit of a long shot because he's facing a strong Arsenal defense. But Haaland always finds a way to score against these sort of teams. Arsenal probably look to sit back and play on the counter. So I expect Haaland to get a few chances in the box, whether it's a header or not. And he usually finds a way to score. There's also a chance of a penalty if they're playing in and around the box. Foden is very tricky, as is Bernardo Silva, Marmoush, who looks very good in his debut. So I think Haaland has a chance of scoring even though it's a difficult opposition. In terms of yellow cards, well, we have Ugarte, ever consistent, always reliable when it comes to a yellow card. Whether in transition or just trying to stop the game, slow it down, Ugarte will make so many tackles. Eventually he'll make a couple fouls and usually it adds up to a card. On the other side we have Gabriel. I already told you he'll be defending against Haaland in this huge matchup. Gabriel loves to play really physically. He's very aggressive. He usually jumps in. Very likely he gets a couple fouls, especially if it's in transition, with a long kick from Ederson or anything of the sort. I expect Gabriel to put him down, no fear, nothing. He'll take a yellow card without a shadow of a doubt. So give me Gabriel for a yellow. And likewise, Kovacic, when Arsenal are in transition, he will always take a foul to slow it down, allow the team to rebuild. So give me Kovacic for a yellow. I think it's a pretty safe bet. In terms of full-time results, I'm going for Newcastle against Fulham, City against Arsenal, just because they've always had that edge, and Chelsea against a very weak West Ham side. In terms of my long shot, I'm going for Brentford against Spurs. Spurs are typically a good team, but Brentford have been playing better football. They're at home, they score a lot of goals, and there's just so much uncertainty with Spurs. I think Brentford are a pretty safe bet for a win. So those are my picks, guys. Let me know what you think, what you would go with. If I'm wrong, if I'm crazy, let me know. So that's going to do it for this video. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Otherwise, enjoy this weekend's games and see you guys there.